The local labour landscape will come under scrutiny today with the release of the latest quarterly employment statistics. The reading from Stats SA is for the period between September and December of 2022, which was marred by heightened load shedding. Industries including mining and manufacturing have been suffering as a result, causing worry over job losses. That's despite the recent marginal declines recorded in South Africa's overall unemployment rate as it stands at 32.7% currently. Labour analyst Michael Bagraim speaks to us about these matters. Thank you so much for your time, Michael. This time around, unlike the previous quarterly employment figures that we saw in September of 10,000 jobs that had been created in the South African economy, what's expected?
Well, we're expecting a little bit of an upturn because you will understand that it takes into account the December period where we had a lot of tourists. And thank God for tourism in South Africa, in particular in the Western Province, where that should go up a bit. But it's all just a drop in the ocean. It's unfortunately a situation where we're going downhill every single quarter, because as we add matriculants, scholars into the mix, we are getting more and more numbers of joining the unemployment queue. It's all very well to say that our stats tell us it's 37%, but the reality is that if you look at the expanded definition, it's over 45%. But if you look at the real thing that counts, and that is the youth, that's at 70%, 70% unemployment. Now, we had some good news over the SONA in that the president seemed to be looking at factors that will make a difference. But of course, as we know, when our president says something, that doesn't mean it's going to translate into action. Well, it hasn't. We've heard nothing since the SONA. The SONA didn't give us times, dates, and places. And we've heard absolutely nothing. I personally have put questions to the Minister of Employment and Labour, and we've just got no progress whatsoever. The bottom line is we need to ensure that the environment is created by government to be able to create jobs, in particular small business. Small business is the job creation factor of the future. All the economists are telling us around the world. But in South Africa, we don't seem to understand it. So we regulate small businesses out of business. We put so much red tape. It's unbelievable. And then we're coupling small businesses in the bargaining councils to large business, which kills them anyway. And then what about businesses in the formerly disadvantaged areas? We give them no help whatsoever. And that should be the place where we got growth. Well, we're not getting it. And the only way we're going to do this is have a complete sea change. We have to move beyond government and say it's got to be the private sector that creates the jobs, and government has to create an environment conducive to job creation.
And on that note, where you speak about the lack of growth, of course, it's exacerbated by the current energy crisis. To what extent is that expected to feature in these numbers?
Well, the energy crisis is a cherry on the top of the disaster. And that disaster is going to continue. We're not finding room to improve that energy crisis. We're also having fights with, it's unbelievable to think about it, but our biggest trading partner is America, and we're having fights with them. So we're going to lose out on that. Our ports aren't functional. Our roads are falling apart. The railways aren't functional. Somehow government is not helping the business sector to be able to help the business sector to get jobs. We know that government can't create jobs. They're bloated. They're overpaying. They don't have the money anymore. And the energy crisis is really the double whammy that hits us all, where businesses are saying we can't produce. We'd rather import. We'd rather outsource. It's unbelievable. We've got a very rich country, and yet we're cash poor. And it's because we just don't have the means to deregulate completely. Government wants to keep a tight hold on the business community, and it's silly.
Sure. Michael, there's also issue to be taken with a matter that you raised a short while ago about school leavers who are entering the labor landscape in South Africa. Unfortunately, because we do not have a mass number of skilled workers, we actually have or are churning the same type of momentary laborer in South Africa, a laborer that would hardly be upskilled because there are no avenues to do so either. And looking at the education system, we are not winning on that side too. So I'm interested in finding out what type of environment the South African economic landscape is building for itself when we speak of an employee of the future.
Well, it's quite simple, really, and we just have to look at Germany. I had the privilege and pleasure of visiting Germany as a guest of the German government to have a look at the dual education system. And they have a system where every single school leaver has a certain amount of time doing apprenticeship during their school time, so that every single German child leaving the school system is not only going to follow their career, let's say they want to be a lawyer, but they then a qualified bricklayer. And we used to have a good apprenticeship system in South Africa. We can put it back into place quite easily. And we need that. We need carpenters, we need bricklayers, we need electricians. We need people who can use their hands, and South Africans are innovative. We've got good people here. We just need government to sit up, listen to the business community, say what is needed out there, and let's get that. And we've got to put pride back into it as well, because when I visit schools here in South Africa, and I speak to some of the imminent school leavers, they all want to become doctors, lawyers, accountants, and that's not going to be possible. And I say, but what about becoming a plumber or electrician? You'll earn more money. And there seems to be a disdain for that. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what the reasoning is. It's maybe the parents are saying, I don't want you to become a plumber. But we all know that a plumber is going to be employed for life. A plumber is needed. And a plumber will probably earn better than any lawyer. And so we need to have that education, we need to have a change, and we certainly need the apprenticeships back again. And it's not expensive. Apprenticeships are a lot cheaper than universities.
We'll leave it on that note for now as we await 11:30, where Stats SA will be releasing those quarterly employment numbers in South Africa for the fourth quarter.